Well, hey, everyone. Thanks so much for joining me again. So good to have you here. I'm Pam Durkin. I'm the closing coach for interior designers. And you're probably wondering, why the heck am I called the closing coach? Well, I had a designer come to me that was really struggling to get the right clients. And maybe this is happening to you too. She was certainly busy enough, but the jobs just weren't profitable and they weren't the right ones. And naturally, she thought the next step would be to join a few networking groups and start reaching out to builders in her area. And after we talked about it a little while and dived into exactly what she was doing, it became really clear that while she was creating a lot of activity, she was not being very effective. So today I'm going to be talking about this specific subject because it might be happening to you too. And honestly, it is super frustrating. So there's a big difference between being busy and being effective when it comes to marketing your business. But first, I want to remind you that my Luxury Client Academy, the 9-month coaching experience that I currently have, is accepting enrollment, and I will help you triple your profits with measurable results over the next 9 months. We track your progress throughout the entire program so you know exactly where you stand. And the application is now open, and you can apply via the link below in the show notes. So let's get into this busy but effective quandary that might be happening in your business too. So maybe you're putting yourself out there and you're joining those networking groups, or you're getting meetings with builders and you are running around trying to, make good contacts. And of course, it feels good. It feels like you're doing something, like you're not just sitting waiting for the phone to ring. You're taking matters into your own hands. But the frustrating part is that you're not getting either like any responses, or maybe you're having these meetings, but then that's it. There's no call for opportunities. There's no other contact that's happening after these. They just sort of fade away into the distance. And now you're thinking to yourself, like, why isn't this working? What is wrong? What's going on? Why am I working so hard for too many hours? So hard, too many hours, and too little money. Please get me off the roller coaster, right? And the first thing is, you need to know being busy doesn't necessarily mean that you're being effective. And I know when you need to get business, you are looking anywhere and everywhere to drum up an opportunity. You are doing your very best to try to make things happen. But when you're throwing sort of spaghetti against the wall and seeing what sticks, it really isn't a good enough strategy. And this is a surefire way to get frustrated, and eventually you will throw your hands up and quit because there are no returns, no rewards, no business coming your way for these efforts. And I know it's a lot of work, it's a lot of time away from your projects. So, my designer client had joined two networking groups and set up some meetings with a few different builders in the area, and also was very active in a local Facebook group. And when we dove into a little bit more as to why she joined these groups and what was happening, who were the members of these groups, and then what was the time and money and, ROI, which is your return on investment. What was the ROI? We realized a couple things were happening, and I think that these might ring some bells with you too. So, in terms of the networking groups, the groups that she had joined didn't really have members that were also working with the types of clients she wanted. And the time and effort that was required to be in these groups, and also money, there was happened to be a fee involved with this. It was taking her away from the precious time that she had, because she was running a business. She has a family and a young child, and which is just a lot of other things going on outside of work, like we all have, right? And the time and effort that was required to be in these groups was really taking away and eating into that little time that she had to effectively market her business to the right clients to the right referral partners. So the return on investment or ROI just wasn't there. However, she did really like the mission that was going on with these networking groups, which was charity related. She loved the people. She loved the personalities, and that's all fine. So if you understand that this means that these are feel good activities, that's one thing. There's a difference between this being a business generating group and a group that you just enjoy being a part of. So that's one thing to consider when you're looking at networking groups is, are you there to garner business and to kind of be in the room with the right people who are also working with the types of clients you want to work with? Or is it more of a group that you just enjoy the group for what it is, for what they are doing, the activities they have, the people there? If you just enjoy it, that's fine. But just, I want you to understand that there is a difference between being in a group that's just nice to be in or being in a group that will eventually help you grow your business. The second strategy she had been doing was going and taking meetings with builders. And she had gotten this strategy from another designer friend who was doing this in her own business with a lot of success. And so, rightfully so, she thought, well, if that person's having good success with this, then I should be doing this too. But again, once we kind of figured out what was really going on, the friend has a completely different business. She's going after different kinds of projects, and it wasn't really, they weren't looking for the same type of referral partner. So for you, when you're looking in your business as to who's a great person to be meeting and to be talking to and to be building relationships with, they have to be in alignment with the type of work that you're doing and also the type of clients that you're going after. So she set up these meetings and she went into the meetings just to make a contact and no real plan as to how they could work together or what the next steps would be. And she was finding that a lot of these builders were looking for a designer to handle construction plans, hard finishes, things like that. And this was really not something she was interested in doing. So when you're setting up meetings, and if you get meetings with builders, which is incredible because they are busy, now maybe things are slowing down a little bit more and they're more apt to take meetings with you, but you have to be thinking about what's in it for them. How can I help them? How can I make their business better, elevated, easier, quicker, faster? Make them look good. What is it that you can do with the type of work that you're doing and the type of services that you're offering to help them along the way? And also having an idea of how you're going to, what's going to happen after the meeting. Thinking about what the next step is and figuring out that ahead of time. So at the end of this meeting, it's like, what do we do now? Where do we go from here? Now, if you guys want to look into some questions to ask on networking, I do have a podcast episode about that. So you can check that out a few episodes back, but go ahead and check it out. It's the ten big questions you can ask when you're trying to network with someone and find out if you guys are a good fit together. It's really, really helpful. So be sure to check that out. So when you're meeting with builders, of course, you have to be thinking, how can I help this person? And are they doing the type of work that I'm also going after? And then the third thing was she was actually getting a lot of leads from a Facebook group. And so at first blush, this sounds great. Like this is an interesting thing to dive into. Of course, in your own business, you want to be looking at what's really working. Where are the leads coming from? That's one of the things that we do in the Luxury Client Academy is we have you start tracking your leads and your opportunities and understanding where they're coming from and then analyzing, are they good? What size are they? How can we duplicate the things that are working and the ones that are working out well? And then also, how can we start shedding the things that aren't working? If they're not working because they actually are just not the right place for you to be, or if there's another approach that we can make that a more effective strategy for you. So To get back to the Facebook groups, she was getting almost all her leads from this group, which sounds awesome. And as we started talking about it, talking through it, kind of analyzing the information, started to realize that the clients that were coming from those groups, even though this was, a nice source of referrals, they generally only wanted ideas and they didn't want to see the project all the way through like designers want. We want to take the project from beginning to end, right? We want to see it all the way through the installation so that we get that gratification of, coming up with a great design and then being able to see the final product and then be able to take photographs. But they weren't looking to do that. They were more the DIY types who only really wanted the ideas. And not to say that that couldn't be something that works in your business. It wasn't really working for her, but that could be something where you just go, "Oh, hey, there's a market here, there's a need here. How can we dive into that so that you could have that as a service offering?" But we were finding for her that this wasn't really working out great. And then the other thing is that the people were coming to her didn't really have the budget to complete the design. They just weren't in the areas that she wanted to be in. So while it looked good from the outside that this was a great group, ultimately, it's not really where we're going to be moving in the future with her. So I want to remind you to be looking at what's working and what's not working. And again, we dive into this in the first few months in the Luxury Client Academy because I want to get to know exactly what's going on, what you've tried, to really get into some of the details so that we can evaluate what those next steps are and get you that 9-month plan. So of course, no wonder she was exhausted and frustrated that this stuff wasn't working and she just felt like she was literally on a roller coaster. She was throwing everything against the wall that she could possibly think of. She certainly was putting time and effort into marketing her business, but the activities weren't getting her any closer to her goal, which was to get those bigger jobs and focus on doing just soft goods and furnishings. So, what's the lesson here? I encourage you to look at the networking and marketing activities that you're doing in your business. Are they worth the time and effort that you're putting into them? Of course, if you want my help with that, that is one of the things that we dive into right in the first month of the Luxury Client Academy. So be sure to, if you have an interest in that, check those show notes. I have an application. I would love for you to fill that out. So, the first few months are dedicated to finding out what you're doing in your business, what's working, what's not working, what could be working. It's just we have to change the approach. So we dive into those specifics to start crafting that roadmap so that you can get the luxury clients in your town and that you can start tripling your profits in the next 9 months. So I encourage you to apply to the Luxury Client Academy. Again, application is in the show notes. And we work together to create a lot of clarity and a plan around the types of clients and projects that you want in your business, whether it's new builds or renovations or soft furnishing projects. One project can pay for this whole program. So, do you think that you could get one additional project over the next 9 months while working with me? I absolutely think that you can. And of course, I'm here to help you triple your profits in the next 9 months, which is even better. So, I'm inviting you guys to apply to the Academy. The link to the application is in the show notes. It only takes a couple minutes so that I can learn a lot more about you and your business. And it helps me determine if I can help you triple your profits in the next 9 months. Oh, and if you're not on my email list currently and you're just listening to the podcast, you definitely need to be. I'm going to start giving away one free mini business audit every month, and we're starting in October, but it's only available to those on my email list. So be sure to get on that. I believe that link is also in the show notes. And of course, if you guys have questions and want to join my mailing list or find me on Instagram, all this information is below in the notes. But go ahead and take a look at what's happening and what's working and not in your business when it comes to your marketing. Are you being busy? Are you being effective? I hope it's both. But of course, reach out to me if you have any questions or concerns, and I will see you all next time. Take care.